4-year-old's own words became the key evidence that solved his murder case. Nearly a decade after Jeremiah Oliver's body was found, those words from his own testimony finally brought his killer to justice. In September 2013, Jeremiah Oliver disappeared from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, where he lived with his mother, Elsa Oliver, and her live-in boyfriend, Alberto Sierra Jr., 32. For months, no one questioned where the 4-year-old had gone. The silence broke in December 2013, when Jeremiah's 8-year-old sister shared concerns with a teacher and counselor at school. What she revealed would crack open a case buried in bureaucratic neglect. She told authorities that Sierra used a belt and his fists to beat her, her siblings, and her mother. But when investigators pressed for details about Jeremiah, they discovered something chilling. He hadn't been seen for 3 months. Jeremiah's body was found in a suitcase along Interstate 190 in Sterling in April 2014. He had been missing since September 2013, yet was not reported missing until December of that year. The family had been under state supervision, yet a social worker with the Child Welfare Agency went months without visiting the home, despite reports of abuse and neglect. When investigators began piecing together what had happened to Jeremiah, they uncovered something unprecedented. Before his death, the 4-year-old had created audio recordings describing the abuse he was suffering at Sierra's hands. These recordings, made in his own innocent voice, would become the most powerful evidence in a case that had seemed impossible to solve. The boy's death was not ruled a homicide until February 2016, when an autopsy by the state medical examiner determined he died of homicidal violence of undetermined causes. But prosecutors knew they had something extraordinary, a victim who had essentially testified against his own killer from beyond the grave. The question now was whether a jury would accept the word of a 4-year-old as the foundation for a murder conviction. Knowing that Jeremiah's own voice recordings would be the centerpiece of the prosecution's case, do you think a jury should convict based primarily on a 4-year-old's testimony? Comment your answer below. What happened in that courtroom would set a precedent that shocked the legal world. 12 years after Jeremiah Oliver's death, Alberto Sierra Jr. faced a Worcester County jury on murder charges. Prosecutors presented testimony from Jeremiah's mother, Elsa Oliver, describing the night Jeremiah died. She recounted that Sierra was attacking her when 4-year-old Jeremiah emerged from a kitchen closet where he was often confined and said, "Don't hurt my mommy," prompting Sierra to slam the child's head into the floor. Oliver testified that her son was not moving after the attack, and when she tried to intervene, Sierra attacked her until she passed out. The next day, Jeremiah was not breathing. The audio recordings Jeremiah had made describing Sierra's abuse became the centerpiece of the prosecution's case, a child's own words serving as testimony against his killer. Sierra pleaded not guilty to charges of murder and disinterring of a body, with prosecutors alleging he moved Jeremiah's body multiple times before it was finally discovered in the suitcase along Interstate 190. The legal proceedings also addressed the systematic failures that allowed Jeremiah's death. Elsa Oliver had already pleaded guilty in 2017 to assault and battery and reckless endangerment in connection with her other 2 children, and was sentenced to more than 7 years in prison. Sierra himself had been convicted in 2017 of abusing Jeremiah's siblings and mother, receiving up to 7 years in prison. For the first time in legal history, a murder conviction rested primarily on the recorded words of a 4-year-old victim, Jeremiah Oliver's own voice finally bringing justice for his death. The case set a precedent that would reshape how courts handle testimony from young children in abuse cases, proving that even the smallest voices could carry the weight of truth in a courtroom. Subscribe for more cases where justice finally wins.